All right, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, where we bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. Companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities that are at a key inflection point with multiple catalysts in place. And we are back actually with one of our former next super stocks, which was originally then called SYTA. And the merger closed. People didn't believe it, but it actually happened. And now we have Core AI Holdings. It's official. Eitan Zakarin, the CEO. Eitan, welcome back to the program.
Great to be with you, Jack.
Eitan, so let's to catch up. I think when you first appeared, you were in the process of merging with SYTA. SYTA Mobile. This was, I think, in May, early, maybe June, May. It was, I think, a very compelling upside story because, you had very, very compelling valuation compared with Apple and other companies in the AI and mobile gaming space. And it took a while, right? It took a couple of months longer than people expected for the deal to close, but finally it happened. So congratulations.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. And thanks for the support, as well as the support from the shareholders. Yeah, it did take longer than expected. We did caveat the last time I was on the show that we were at the mercy of the regulators, as they say. So we just kept pushing forward and keeping the pressure as much as we could, and eventually we got over the finish. So happy to say we're finally in the driver's seat. Very excited for what we have, what the future holds, and just head down, focus on business execution and communicating, all of our developments to shareholders.
Excellent. Yeah, and I just want to add, a lot of time, actually, the merger the timing was more or less kind of normal for what we're seeing right now, because it was a complicated deal, multinational deal. I mean, I'm seeing, a company like Fubo, which was a company doing kind of a similar merger. That was announced in January. That deal still hasn't closed. So, your merger was actually pretty normal, but investors never have patience, and always it's always, we were talking about this before we started, it's always buy the rumor, sell the news. So everybody was excited. I mean, they loved the concept. In May, the stock was $9. I mean, which is, I guess today technically $40 based on that value, whatever the number is. And finally, once the deal closes, and now you've released numbers, now that people see it's real, now everybody forgot about it. This is where the opportunity is actually when the deal is actually done and ready for takeoff. So with that said, we got a lot of new people watching. For anybody that's not familiar with Core AI Holdings, what do you do inside this AI mobile gaming space? Which, by the way, if I remember, it's $126 billion market, right? That's the size of the mobile gaming market, according to research.
Yeah, that's true. In 2025, and it's expected to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of about 5.6%. So in about 2030, that'll be close to 160 billion market. So just for the sake of reintroduction, maybe there's new shareholders, new viewers here. So Core Gaming is our current operating company. I should say one of our operating companies, SYTA Mobile, is now wholly owned subsidiary of Core AI Holdings. I'll speak about that momentarily, but essentially we are a international publisher and developer of mobile games. We're actually a leading developer of casual mobile games. So these are games that you would typically download and on your mobile device, has a lot of stickiness to them. These are kind of the viral games that have a lot of appeal for people to kind of play on the go. And so we've launched over 2,200 games into the market. We've done so both with our own proprietary games that we've developed, as well as in partnership with other gaming studios, close to 60 studios that we've partnered with already. And we've had lifetime downloads over the course of launching these games of over 800 million downloads now.
800 million downloads of your games.
That's right. And we have upwards of 40 million monthly active users across our different gaming portfolios, and that's a footprint of 140 countries globally. So we have a pretty expansive business focused on games and as well as marketing those games. So in addition to just launching the games, I think that kind of differentiates us in many respects. There's a lot of gaming companies out there that have maybe their banner games, portfolio of 1 to 5 games. We're much more focused on volume, and the reason is because we have a different approach. Our approach is algorithmic driven. It's AI driven as well. And so what we do is we have our algorithms look for different gaming niches or sub niches that are not yet tapped into. And we look at that using a number of different variables to analyze and determine which niche we should go into. Once we make that determination, we then develop the games around that. So we have a first mover advantage in doing so, and that enables us to really monetize the games efficiently and really create a lot of quick adoption from the outset. And so the games, while they may not be banner games and the Farmvilles of the world, but they have appeal for their life cycle, and then we constantly churn out more and more games. So that's in essence what we do on the mobile gaming side. And then, as I mentioned, we also have a distribution platform that we work with other gaming developers, and we have over 42 global ad platforms in collaboration with us. TikTok and even AppLovin, which you mentioned before, and others. And so we utilize them in kind of a two-way street. They distribute for their advertisers through us, through our games, and we in turn utilize their platforms to publish and reach new audiences. So this is really the business in which we operate today. And we have a tremendous opportunity for growth with our AI technology, which we've been developing over the last few years. And we've launched and started integrating both in our games as well as our publishing. And, we're very excited for what the future holds. I have a lot of other very interesting things in the pipeline. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a few
moments. We're going to get to that. So we're going to have some audience questions. I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions. Your model, it's very similar. Is it similar to, again, because we've always made that comparison with AppLovin, APP, which has been one of the hottest stocks over the last year. It's trading at 50 times revenues. I think they're doing, was it 5 billion? A couple billion. It was they had a crazy value. I think 5 billion in revenues or 2, but they're trading at 50x. That number just stood out. How you have a similar model, or what's the difference between what you're doing?
We do. We operate very much in a similar. We're certainly in that vertical. We operate a similar business to AppLovin. And they definitely are getting a lot of interest in the public markets. Actually, in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were the #1 performing stock in the NASDAQ. So definitely kind of paved the way for us. We are certainly a smaller version of AppLovin. AppLovin, I believe, also sold their actual game portfolio. So they were developing games and launching those games as well, but I think they actually sold the gaming portfolio last year. And now their primary business is really on the marketing distribution platform, which is very much an integral part of our business as well. So yes, we definitely see AppLovin as a comparable to our business. I think we're obviously a newcomer. So, once people start to, become aware of Core, I think that, we'll probably get closer to that sort of multiple. Right now we're trading only 2 times sales approximately, but definitely something to strive towards.
Okay. So we got questions about people want to know what are the games and what are the most popular games that you have then? And I think last time you were on, you actually showed a demo of some of the games. I forget what the names were, but there were a couple of demos we ran on the screen, I think back in June, I think it was.
Yeah, we have a number of games in our portfolio. Maybe next time you'll have me back and I can actually do a demo on here. But we have some games that have some longevity to them. We also recently launched a number of games that actually integrate with our AI platform. So our AI platform kind of has two elements to it. One is that it enables us to develop games and content quicker, and actually with a 40% reduction in time and efficiency in doing so. And then we also utilize AI as well in our distribution platform. So just a couple of games to throw out, and these were just the most recent, that we've press released. There's a game that we launched called Voice Picks. It's actually not a game in the traditional sense, but it's a novelty. It's a utility that that basically consumers can utilize, to generate.
Like an app? Would you call it an app? It's kind of
an app, yeah. All of our.
But it's for entertainment. It's an entertainment.
It's entertainment. It's more of a utility than an actual game. But again, it definitely makes up a significant part of where our growth is coming from, being that we are integrating AI, which is a unique aspect. So this uses like a multimodal AI capability to redefine realism, emotion, and control synthetic audio. So, essentially what we're seeing is that people are actually utilizing it to create music. They're doing it to synthesize their own music, and they're integrating it into their videos. So we have a lot of content creators that are actually utilizing this application. And another one also that was, somewhat in a similar space, was another music app that we were working on and that we've launched. It's currently not on an app store. The platform is actually more media production driven. So that one's being launched. It's called likemusic.ai. You can actually check out the website, but it's being launched as a web platform. It has been launched as a web platform, which is, for professional creators, that's kind of the best way for them to utilize it.
But the idea basically is, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically you're kind of in a volume business. These things are the revenues come from ads, and you're churning out, I don't know, it could be dozens of new games a month or more, no, that you're launching. And
yeah, that's right. And so our business model is very much volume driven. It's, we monetize through ads primarily. We have some in-game, offerings that we kind of layer on top, but for the most part, it is ads driven. And as we continue to develop the AI platform and the AI tools, we're finding that we really bring some unique elements to the gaming industry that other gaming companies are not necessarily focused on. And so that kind of creates opportunity for partnerships. As I mentioned before, we've partnered with over 60 gaming studios. And so we can, we enter into revenue share partnerships with those gaming studios as we launch their games. And, we see those co-developed games also as a big revenue driver for us.
Okay. Now you had in the last or last week's press release, you had you had some very compelling metrics. You had your key performance indicators. Some of the numbers you mentioned now. And one thing again, I thought which I thought was interesting. I maybe we could read between the lines. So two things stood out. Number one is for the first time you mentioned a goal, because the last time one of the things I asked you on the first interview is, okay, what's the goal? Where do you see this couple of years from now? You didn't want to be too promotional or whatever, but now you're basically in this press release. You said the goal is to get to. I'll let you say what is the goal through within the next 36 months? What kind of revenues?
Yeah, so you're right. Initially, we couldn't speak to this, but now that we've closed the deal, this is you're definitely going to see many more announcements from us in this respect. And so we are targeting $300 million in annualized revenue within 36 months. I should caveat that's just in full disclosure based on successful execution of our growth strategy. And so what that essentially means is we are focused now on scaling out our core gaming business, our main operating business, both organically and with infusion of capital to really scale that business out. To date, it's really been mostly a bootstrap business, meaning whatever revenue we've generated from it, we've just put back into the business, reinvested it to grow it. But we definitely think there's a lot of catalysts and opportunities that we haven't even tapped into yet with core gaming. And so that's definitely going to be a significant part of our business. And as you mentioned, AppLovin, very few other comparables in as public issuers that are trading in this space. So we think we have a great story as a newcomer, as a less expensive option for investors to get exposure to this particular sector, and certainly something that we're very bullish about. In addition to that, as part of this growth strategy, we're very much focused now as a holding company, Core AI Holdings, on a more expansive approach to scaling out our business. And so what that translates into is we are now actively looking and engaged in evaluating opportunities that are not necessarily in the gaming sector, but rather they give us exposure to other technologies that may be relevant to our AI holdings. So some examples would be next generation cloud computing, high performance computing infrastructure, data centers. As I'm sure many of your viewers have seen, a lot of the interest in these sort of companies, CoreWeave and others, transformative AI technologies, and also blockchain with real world applications. So these are just a number of the different opportunities that we are evaluating now. Every single one of them will be accretive in value to our business. We're looking for companies that have strong teams, management that's understands the vision is complementary to our business and our growth strategy. And so that's something we are actively pursuing and hoping to make some announcements soon in terms of mergers and acquisitions, as well as joint ventures that will be a significant part of our growth and leading to that target of 300 million in annual revenue. Okay,
so that's another thing that I thought was very, very interesting in that press release is that the two takeaways is that your goal, the vision, is to get to 300 million revenues within 36 months, and to go beyond just mobile gaming, right? So in other words, you see you're doing this through M&A and other joint ventures.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you summarized it well. That is really what we're focused on as a holding company. Obviously our main operating business is gaming. We started with gaming, but it's always been about AI. It's always been about the cutting edge, leading edge technologies, how we can integrate that both in our business and in other opportunities that are in parallel businesses. We spoke last time I was on your program, or the time prior to that, about other verticals that are similar in parallel to what we do today, right? And so short form video content was something that we had talked about. Those are active joint ventures that we are now exploring and hoping to firm up. And so those have very, very much significant relevance to what we're doing today in casual mobile gaming and how we actually generate revenue for the company. That's something that we see being able to take our AI technology and translate that into similar type of business with a similar business model, but something that can really give us some growth catalyst for our company. So it's all about growth. That's in summary what we're focused on. We're not pigeonholed and specific to gaming. That's really the concept behind the holdings business, and really we're really after growth opportunities.
Okay, but so essentially, this is going to be a pure play on AI. Would that be fair to say? Like core.
I think AI is really becoming quite not just the word of the day, but it's also in real time being integrated into almost every company, right? Every sort of technology business. So I think AI is kind of shifting away from being a buzzword. To being something real that are, it's just impressive to see how it's being integrated and forming and shaping different types of businesses. So I think it is fair to say that more than likely any business that we're going to be looking at to either do an M&A or joint venture with will have exposure to AI in some form or another. But it really goes beyond that. It's going beyond just the walls of gaming and AI, and it's looking at other different verticals that perhaps we're not focused on now, not directly in the lane of the business that we're in, but also something that we can easily look towards integrating into our holding company, something that will give us a catalyst for growth, and certainly give us a lot of opportunity to communicate exciting developments to the market.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned cloud infrastructure as you were looking at some opportunities in that area.
That's right. Yeah, next generation cloud infrastructure is high performance computing. As you're seeing now, one of the kind of linchpins to AI development and rollout is really the infrastructure aspect. It's like the technology is just evolved so quickly, the infrastructure hasn't been able to support it. So you're seeing huge, transactions and consolidations taking place in that particular sector. And we have some very interesting conversations now that we're actively developing, and hopefully materializing into partnerships that will give us access to that sector as well.
Okay, so interesting. So audience question here. So it's not a gaming company. Okay, right now you're a gaming company, but you're saying you want to go beyond gaming.
We're really a holding company, so we're true to the name. Core AI Holdings. It's a holdings company with right now 2 operating businesses. One operating business is Core Gaming, which is the main business right now. It's the main revenue driver. And there's of course also SYTA Mobile, which that was the transaction that we did with SYTA, which enabled us to become a listed company, and they remain a wholly owned subsidiary. So we will continue to build these subsidiaries with Core AI Holdings as the parent in the top, and just really driving growth through all of our different operations.
Okay, and so how would you add value? And so 2 things. One is how are you going to add value into for these potential acquisitions or create value, and are you going to be spinning out some of these as separate companies, or because that could also be very compelling? What would that look like?
Yeah, that right now is not part of the plan. To break off and spin out companies. Really, it's just about developing the holdings company. And so, as I mentioned before, every single acquisition or joint venture that we are focused on and hopefully be announcing soon, everyone will be accretive in value and generate shareholder value. So we're looking for companies that are very much similar to Core Gaming in essence, which is rapid growth, technology focused, innovative, and cutting edge, and definitely leading their respective industry. So that is definitely the mantra for every deal that we'll be looking at. Obviously, our focus is on shareholder value. So we're not looking at R&D companies that are 5 years out from launching product. That's not the business that we're in. We're looking for companies that are generating revenues, that have significant growth opportunities, both organically as well as being able to take injections, infusions of capital, and really turn out exceptional growth on the other end of that.
Okay, and now that you have a NASDAQ vehicle, you have a lot of flexibility to for all sorts of deal structures. Are you able to maybe give us like some insight into your M&A pipeline? Because I think it's pretty clear that you have a number of kind of companies you're probably negotiating with. There are some various some various stage of doing something with. Can you give us kind of a hint of what we could expect over the next couple of months? What kind of companies? If you want a sector or revenues, give us some hint.
Yeah, all I would say, Jack, I appreciate the question, and I'm sure that's reflecting what your viewers are hoping to hear. But I'll just say stay tuned. Right now we've communicated through our press releases that we are looking at joint ventures, partnerships, mergers, and acquisitions. For companies in a number of different sectors, including gaming, including HPC, including AI technologies and blockchain with real world applications. So there's just a few of the sectors and types of companies that we're looking at in discussions with. Obviously, when things become more material, we'll communicate them through the proper channels, and I think you'll get a very clear sense of direction in terms of what sort of deal flow we have and what type of transactions and the scale of those transactions that we're looking at.
Okay. All right. Very, very interesting. So basically, I think it's also important to mention that, you've done everything you've said you would do. I mean, pretty much SYTA, the deal was closed. There's a lot of doubters, and haters. You know how it always works in the small cap space. Nobody believes in it. First, everybody gets very excited, and nobody believes it. And it goes from one extreme to the other. But the deal closed. Everything, and the numbers are out there. The company has been very transparent. I mean, there's regular news flow where you're talking about exactly what you're doing, the numbers, everything else. But I think the M&A pipeline probably, over the next couple of weeks, it'll come into focus. My take from what you said is that there's going to be some announcements over the next, let's call it, I don't know, within the next 4 to 6 weeks. There's going to be some announcements which are going to give people some sort of insight into the what Core AI Holdings is going to look like, as you do these transactions.
Yeah, that's right. So we're like I said, we'll be communicating that to the market as we firm up these transactions and joint ventures and such. And I think we're, to your earlier point about, some of the people that like to kind of go on the forums and put doubt in other investors' mind. I'm okay with that. I think that actually what that does is it creates a growth opportunity for us, and it creates opportunity for shareholders to come in at a lower cost basis. And once they see the execution, they'll realize that this is very much a different story than the one that's been portrayed to them by some of these, more bearish, people, influencers out there.
One of the things I always say is, the doubters and haters, that's like rocket fuel for stocks to go up 10x. It's rocket fuel for 10 baggers. And the reason is because there's a lot, look, the main thing is, there's a lot of people watching the stock, right? There's a lot of people who are, they're not sure about it, whatever. And it's fine because they don't own it. If everybody owned the stock now, there'll be nobody to buy the stock at $10 or $20 a share, right? There'll be nobody left to buy. Right now, you have the only people, people who have it, and then there's, doubters and haters who are watching it. But when they see you execute, when they see you actually deliver, then they say, oh, wait, this is real. And then the FOMO kicks in. It's the whole market psychology. It works. I mean, I've seen this movie play out over and over again, and the same movie is playing out. And also, what we talked about earlier, buy the rumor, sell the news. Everybody was all excited when the deal was first announced, and finally the deal happens, and the stock is even lower today. So the opportunity now is even, what is it? It's probably 5 times bigger than what it was in May. In reality, from a valuation perspective.
Yeah, I think it's much greater than that. I think you had people buying on anticipation of a merger, right? That's really what it was. And SYTA was such an undervalued company, and had seen their value deteriorate over the years, and so there was a lot of anticipation, and so I think that's where you saw a lot of that pop in interest, and then kind of settled itself. The dust settled, so to speak, and I think this is great. I think we're really at a good foundation for us to build off of. I think from this point, like I said before, it's purely about business execution. I think the shareholders that are currently part of our Core AI family, I think they're gonna hopefully see some great growth with us over the coming quarters, and we'll be able to communicate all of our great opportunities to the shareholders, both current and prospective.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that the company is very transparent. There's news flow, so people can probably the best thing for people is put the stock on your watch list, and at that point you can make a decision once you see the news flow that you find to be a reason to buy the stock or not buy the stock, whatever it is. But
yeah, and I'll mention just one final thing, Jack, which is that
the market will figure it out. The market will figure it out. And here's the thing: what's compelling about the stock is you're trading at what two times the revenues. The closest comp is App11, which is 50 times the revenues, 50. So you have, based on that valuation gap, what is my numbers are what, even if you only trade at 10 times revenues, which is very typical in the space, very, I mean, that's actually conservative in the AI space, 10 times the revenues. So that would be a 5x upside from here, just based on that alone, which pretty much it was in line with what our thesis was early on. Of course, we don't give investment advice here. This is not a buy-sell recommendation. Just
right. You have to make the caveat. So I will tell you one final thing. I do think that it's important to note, there are companies out there that will just, put out fluff, try to build, hype around their company. That's not us. We're very much, we talk little and we do a lot, so we're really focused on the business execution. We'll let the performance of the company speak for itself. I think investors, if they're following along, like you said, put us on the watch list, follow along the news. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity coming in at this level.
Okay. Let's wrap up. Couple things. So what's your vision for Core AI Holdings? We kind of touched on about, if everything goes well, what would the company look like? 3 years is a long time. Let's forget about 3 years. Let's just say 18 months. 18 months is, people, most people watching, their time horizon is like, a week. But let's say 18 months. What would, if everything goes well, like some of your, the M&A pipeline works out, what could Core AI Holdings look like 18 months from now?
Yeah. So first and foremost, we're going to continue to be a leading developer and publisher of mobile games. Okay, that's our core business today. This is where we expect to be able to drive significant growth, and so that business will continue to expand, both in the technological sense and in the tools and the products that we develop, and also being a major revenue driver for the company. In addition to that, I think within that time frame that we've laid out, we do expect to be able to drive significant revenues to the business through other streams, notably through other JVs and acquisitions that we are focused on now, that may be directly related to AI, that may be a sector or a business that's parallel. And so I think once we start communicating that, shareholders will begin to see kind of the evolution of Core AI Holdings from what we are today, which is a leading developer and publisher of mobile casual games, into a broader holding company with very significant technologies that will be driving significant revenues to the company. What we're hoping and projecting, contingent on being able to successfully execute this strategy, is $300 million in annualized revenue within 3 years. Okay.
So really, the company is in this early in this transformational phase, right? So it's kind of like, you have a butterfly, but first it starts off, I think, as a caterpillar, then it goes. So there's a couple of different or different animals. I think like frogs, they start off with as a tadpole, whatever, whatever it is. So right now you're starting off with these AI mobile games. The goal though is to be that butterfly or whatever, that 100x potential stock, whatever the thing is. That's kind of the template. That's the vision. And we're going to see over the next, I think, number of months, weeks and months, maybe the next, I don't know. I think we're going to see probably stuff in the next, I'm taking a guess, in the next 4 to 6, 8 weeks, we should see a number of announcements, which are going to give people a hint as to the direction you're going in. Then they could, decide from there. Look, the main thing is, again, I always say, look, this is a stock that I actually, I hope people don't buy the stock right now. It's better that they put it on their watch list so that there's buyers at higher prices after you have the news. Because if you have the news flow, that's going to, you deliver the results, the stock is going to probably be higher, most likely. I mean, I'm not saying, but if you deliver on what you say you're going to do, it should be there. A couple things. One thing I like to always ask CEOs, one of the questions I always like to ask at the end is, in your opinion, what are the top 3 reasons why investors should consider Core AI Holdings today?
Yeah, I think the top 3 are really one. I think it all boils down to the fact that as a team, we have a track record of execution, and that really is centered around technology. Every company that we've ever been involved in, every company that we've ever considered looking at from a JV or an M&A perspective is always technology driven, right? And so we want to be at the leading edge of that technology. Whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's casual mobile games or HPC that we're looking at, or cloud infrastructure, whatever it is, it's always going to be technology driven. It's always going to be cutting edge. So that really is where the growth driver is for the company, where it has been, and that's going to continue taking us to the next levels with Core AI Holdings.
C Plus saying there's a concern. According to Chat GPT, the stock should be $20 to $40 in 36 months. This is what Chat GPT is saying. We also have some people in the audience. We have a couple of things to give you kind of the consensus of the audience. People are saying, well, why is the stock down? Why is the stock down from, I don't know, where it was in July? If you want to answer that. And then the other thing is saying, well, how come, they always want, what are these? Everybody's repeating that. What are these games? Which you've already mentioned. What are the games? What are the games? Who are the developers? It's the same. It's the usual. It's all the stuff you've mentioned in the press releases over and over again. So we have a lot of doubt.
Yeah, I think in terms of the question about why the stock's down, of course we don't control the market, right? But there was some questions from shareholders from the outset of the merger announcement when it finally closed, that they said that some brokers weren't able to trade the stock. So that's a very temporary, sort of transitional issue, if you will, where the ticker symbol changed. Some brokers, don't update their systems as quickly. So I don't think that was a major component to any sort of depreciation of the stock price around that. But also there was a reverse split at the same time. We kept it minimal. We needed to meet the qualifications for NASDAQ. So we kept to the most minimal reverse stock split that we could. But it is typical that when you do have a reverse stock split, the stock does pull back, after that happens. So like I said, we're focused on the long-term growth of this company. This is not a flash in the pan micro cap that's going to be a 10 bagger and then people leave it. This is a long-term growth strategy business. And so I think, the best is just ahead of us. Really, nobody's really seen anything yet. They've seen our core gaming business. They've seen our what we've executed in the last quarter. But we really have all the growth ahead of us. Okay, excellent. On that note, Eitan, I want to thank you for the update. And I think the best thing for people is to, put the stock on your watch list, and then you can, decide for yourself if Core is potentially that next 10 bagger, and we'll see if Eitan delivers. Right, we're going to have the potential M&A opportunities, growth, revenues, all those things. The news is going to basically tell you where this thing is going over the next, I think, number of weeks. So Eitan, thank you again. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much, Jack. Looking forward to it.